What is up, guys? Archon tonight I'm going to bring you guys another YouTube video. In today's video we're going to be discussing the Blood DK talent changes for Shadowlands. We're going to compare them to BFA. And the reason Blood is going to get its own video is because I want to compare Unholy and Frost in a later video. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and talk about this. So, quick heads up. If you see 15, 25, and 30, that means we're looking at the Shadowlands tree. If you see 56, 57, 58, that means we're looking at the BFA tree. Just so that way you guys don't get confused about what tree we're looking at. So first up for Shadowlands here, Heartbreaker and Blooddrinker are the same, but Tombstone is replacing Runestrike. Tombstone gives you a 30% shield, as well as 30 runic power for the cost of 5 bone shield charges, and it's a 1-minute cooldown. Whereas Heartbreaker gives you, I believe it's a total of 10 runic power if you're inside Death and Decay. So I think these are a little bit closer than people are initially going to assume. Just because you have to do 3 heart strikes to get the same that you'd get out of a tombstone. And with managing your bone charges as well, it may be a little bit harder to get max value out of Heartbreaker sometimes. Whereas Tombstone, it also gives you that survivability on top of the runic power generation. So it'll be interesting to see which one wins out. I think Blooddrinker is just going to be the odd man out here. Rapid Decomposition's up next. And your Blood Plague and Death and Decay deal damage 15% more often. It's pretty much the same, except for now you get a 50% more health from your Blood Plague Leech. I don't think that's going to be enough to knock off Hemio's 40% more Death Strike healing. Or even Consumption. Even though Consumption is being changed, it used to be all targets for 100% of the damage dealt. Now it's 8 targets for 150% of the damage that was dealt. So it looks like they're trying to cut back on big pulls because Consumption no longer hits all targets. I assume the heal is probably going to offset and be the same. I'm not sure like at what point the scale tips to where the 8 targets is less than the all targets at 100. Val Bulwark in tier 3 is the same. Ossuary is the same as well. But we're getting Relish in Blood to replace Tombstone that got moved, to replace Runestrike. While Crimson Scourge is active, your next Death and Decay heals you for 24% of your attack power per bone shield charge, and you immediately gain 10 runic power. So what this means is that if you're going to heal for 2,000 off of this, you would heal for 2,000 10 times. So you'd get 20,000 back. I'm pretty sure is the math on it. So it's going to be interesting to see just how well this is going to do. This could be the new Bone Storm, because Crimson Scourge activates, I believe, whenever you use Heart Strike, there's a chance of it going off. And I've had times where it's procted pretty frequently, so unless they're changing the procs per minute on Crimson Scourge, this seems like it's going to be a little bit strong, kind of like the old Bone Storm used to be, where you'd heal like infinitely and just not have to worry about dying ever. It's going to be a really good burst heal, I would also imagine. But I don't know if it beats out Ossuary Hemiostasis, and there is another talent that got changed, which we'll go over. At the end of this, we'll go over a few theory builds I was looking at. So in Tier 4, we have Will of the Necropolis, Anti-Magic Barrier, and now Mark of Blood. Mark of Blood is replacing Rune Tap, which is being moved baseline. So DKs will actually have active mitigation in the form of a 30-second reduction for 4 seconds with 2 charges, unless they're changing how it works in-game. It'd be interesting to see. Will of the Necropolis is still the same, it's 30%. Anti-Magic Barrier is actually being changed. They're reducing the cooldown of Anti-Magic Shell by an extra 5 seconds, and they're increasing its duration and amount absorbed by 40% now instead of 30. So if you combine it with Tombstone, that's a 70%, but if you combine AMS with Anti-Magic Barrier, you're going to get a way bigger shield than that. So Anti-Magic Barrier, don't sleep on it. Mark of Blood, it's an extra percent. I don't think it's going to change anything. I still think the talent is pretty useless, especially when thrown in with Will of the Necropolis, which has been the dominant trait, I believe. Or talent. In Tier 40, Tier 5 or whatever, it's basically the same. No changes. Tier 6 is where things are going to get interesting. So, right now, because of all the moving around in Tier 6, as you can see, this is the only talent that stayed. Bloodworms got moved to the, oh no, Bloodworms didn't get moved, they got moved to the right for whatever reason. Mark of Blood got moved to replace Rune Tap, so now you have Death Pact, which lets you heal for 50%, but then it causes you to not be able to be healed for 30% of your max health for 15 seconds. That sounds, it could be okay, but if you use it with Vampiric Blood, I don't know if you would get punished harder, because Vampiric Blood increases your health, but it also increases the healing that you get. So I don't know. That seems like it could be a dangerous talent to take for sure. But anyway, the interesting change here, Bloodworms I think is still the same. Your auto attacks have a chance to summon Bloodworms. They deal minor damage, healing 50% of your missing health. Yeah, if you drop below 50%, your worms immediately heal. So Bloodworms is the same. Approximately 5 procs per minute. Yeah. So, all the same. This is the big change, I think. Before, this was a joke, because all it gave you was 15% leech for 6 seconds. Now, it gives you 20% increased healing on Death Strike, and 15% leech for 8 seconds. So the big thing is the 20% healing that you're going to get from Death Strike. And I don't know if it's got diminishing returns with Hemostasis, or if it multiplies off of that. Like, I'm not sure how this works. If Hemio would, you know, be calculated first in the Death Strike calculations, or if Death Strike is calculated first. So you get the 20% increased, and then you get the 40%, because let's say you're going to hit 5 things with it. This is going to be the interesting combo, what I have highlighted now. I don't think Death Pack is going to be viable. Like I said, it's a dangerous thing to run, because then it requires your healers to actually burst heal the 30% off that you can't heal. Bloodworms is still okay. I just don't know if it'll make up for the 20% that you're going to be getting extra from Death Strike, because Death Strike already heals for quite a bit. It's like 25% of your missing health over, what, the last 5 seconds. So whatever that is, plus 20%, plus 40% on top of that. That's like a super heal. Purgatory, same thing. Red Thirst is actually getting a change, and I'm really glad Red Thirst is getting this change. So before it was 1, now it's 1.5, and it doesn't sound like a lot, but it will add up over time. When Death Strike costs, what is it, 45 I think, or 40 with Ossuary? Yeah, so it's like 40 for Death Strike. So you're looking at, what, 4 seconds before, and now you're looking at 1.5 or 1.5 times 4, which is what? 20, drops to 0, carry the 2, 4, so you're getting 6, it's like 6 seconds off. That'd be like 6.5 seconds, or 6.0 seconds off instead of 4. Don't know why that math was hard. That math shouldn't have been that hard, honestly. It's 1.5 over 2, which is 3, and then times 2 is 6. I should have just done it that way. Oh well, whatever. So you get an extra 2 seconds off per Death Strike. And right now I think Vampiric Blood's a minute 30 cooldown. And you can get what? If you have Ossuary, I think it's what, 2? Wait, did that get nerfed? No, it didn't. So you get, I think, 3 Death Strikes off at max runic power at 120. So 6, 12, 18. That's 18 versus 4, 8, 12. You're getting, yeah, the extra 6. Anyway, Bone Storm isn't changing either. It's going to be the same thing. They didn't touch it. Honestly, I've been running Red Thirst over Bone Storm. It doesn't seem to do what it used to do at the start of BFA. I guess it does damage, which is nice, but at the same time, it just feels weak. I think with the Red Thirst getting that extra 2 seconds per Death Strike, it's gonna be pretty good. I'm gonna be looking at trying builds out that make it work a bit more effectively, because the more Vampiric Blood you get, the more this will heal for, and the more this will heal for, and the more you combine it with like your AMS if you need to for like a giant shield. Or actually, I don't know. I wonder if they're gonna fix the interaction with Tombstone, because when you Vampiric Blood Tombstone, it gives you the extra 6% of your maximum health, but it doesn't increase the shield by the 30% that Vampiric Blood says shields are supposed to be increased by. I don't know if that's a bug or if that's intended. I don't know how that all works out. It's kind of interesting. Anyway, I think Blood DK is going to be in an interesting spot. I think they are going to be a really, really strong tank. We might even see nerfs throughout the alpha towards them. I haven't looked at the other tank specs to really get a grasp. I just wanted to look at Blood because I heard a lot of things were being changed with them. Pretty excited for it. It's going to be nice to see Blood hopefully get some of that sustainability back that we don't have in BFA. Like, on higher level keys, we just get hit really, really hard, and it sometimes is impossible to get back up because of how hard you're hit. But you're expected, like, right now, you're expected to death strike everything. So you're expected to take your 25%, then death strike the 25% back. And in higher keys, you're actually taking more than that, so your death strike isn't healing for as much. Even with hemostasis, it's not enough to keep you going sometimes on bigger pulls. Bone Storm is still an option. It heals for 3% up to 15, but it's just kind of meh. It just doesn't keep up. I don't know. Sometimes it just feels like if you fall behind at all on Blood Decay, you just can't catch back up. And it's on your healer to get you back where you need to be. But a lot of these changes I'm excited for. I think Death Strike is going to actually be a viable, defensive. That's all that Blood really has for a defensive is Blood Strike, or sorry, Death Strike when you think about it. Because IBF is a 3-minute cooldown. Anti-magic barrier, or anti-magic shell, if you run it with anti-magic barrier, is I believe a 45-second cooldown, and it only lasts for 5 seconds. So it's a good defensive, don't get me wrong, and it blocks magic damage, but fights where you take physical damage, kind of like the Waycrest walking tree boss, I can't think of his name, that uses soul thorns. He hits like a truck, and you have to kind of take him through a little bit early in some cases. Let's think. But rune tap going to, baseline is really big, especially if it still functions the same way. Because you're looking at 30% of all damage taken. That's both magic and physical, which is huge. For 4 seconds. And it's a 2 charges on a 25-second recharge rate. Ideally, you shouldn't have to cast it all that often. I wouldn't imagine you're only going to need it for like a big hit that a boss is going to do. You shouldn't need to use it for like basic attacks that they're doing to you. It should just be used for a really big hitting ability, obviously. I wonder if there's a chance that it stacks with IBF as well. That'll be interesting to see. And the other thing to keep in mind is it's 4 seconds. So that means that you take 8 seconds off the recharge. Because you would subtract the active from the recharge rate because it recharges while it's active. Sorry if that's confusing anybody. My voice is starting to go a little bit, and I'm trying to talk, and my voice keeps like, cracking a little bit. Anyway, let's go over some theory builds here. Like I said, Heartbreaker, Hemio, Ossuary. People are probably going to go Will of the Necropolis still. This doesn't even matter. I think people are going to still go Bloodworms and Bone Storm. This is what I think you're going to see. But what I'm going to experiment with myself is I'm going to experiment with Tombstone. But what I'm going to do is if I'm going to run Tombstone, I'm probably not going to run Hemio. I don't know what I'm going to run outside of Hemio. Maybe I'll still run Hemio. It doesn't hurt anything to run it still, I guess, because it does give you the bonus healing on your Death Strike. But I probably would run... So if I'm going to run Tombstone, I'm probably running Relish in Blood. Just because I don't need the extra runic power at that point, because I'm going to try to heal off of the Scourge, or the Crimson Scourge effect. Will of the Necropolis is good, or Anti-Magic Barrier. I like Anti-Magic Barrier, I'm a big fan of it. I'd probably run Bloodworms with it, and then Bone Storm as well. I think these talents would also be really good in an AoE setup. Whereas if it was more of a single target fight that hits really hard, you're probably going to want to run this. In a single target fight that hits really hard, I could see this being good too. Actually, I'd still run Tombstone in a fight that hits really hard. I don't know, like Heartbreaker is good for the runic power, but if you can get your Bone Shield charges up early and then save your Dancing Rune weapon for after you use Tombstone, you can immediately jump back up the 5 that you lost back up to 10, and you'll be able to just sit there and not, actually have lost any rune charges. And you'll still be doing fine. I'm sorry, bone charges. Like I said, my voice is starting to go, guys. It's really hard to talk. But yeah. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you enjoyed my thoughts on the whole blood DK. Let me know what you guys think of these changes. What do you guys think is going to be the top talent changes or top talents for Shadowlands? Give me a theory crafted build that you guys see here. Give me a tier 1, tier 2, or tier 1 through 7. Let me know what you guys think. Are you guys excited for the blood DK changes? Do you think that maybe they're going to have to change these a little bit in the alpha before it gets to beta and so on and so forth? Is there any other class you want me to look at? Like I said, I'm down for looking at any of the classes. I've played a bunch of them. There are a couple I haven't played, like Shaman I haven't played up to 120. There are some hunter specs I haven't played at 120. But outside of that, I have no problem doing another class breakdown just based on the numbers and what I'm seeing. Compared to BFA, it shouldn't be that hard to figure out. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Later.